So tell us more, how did the company come about? What's your vision for the future? And how does Rayven differentiate itself in this market?
Hi, Renee. Thanks very much for that introduction. My background, as you said, is in manufacturing and supply chain. I'm an industrial engineer. But Rayven, our co-founders, Jared Oken and Niv Schwartzman, started a company in Israel about 4 years ago with a vision to democratize technology of IoT. And about 3 years ago, I was looking for a vehicle for my vision of industrial IoT. And when I saw what they had created, I immediately knew that this was the platform that would change everything. So Rayven acquired my company, Factory One, and we joined forces to deliver end-to-end industrial IoT and machine learning.
As we talk about industrial IoT, I think the conversation that really comes up hard is around processing on the edge, right? We have limits around bandwidth and issues with latency, but yet we also know that by 2025, 75% of enterprise-generated data will be both created and processed at the edge. And so there's a lot of movement in the technology to enable that today. You worked with Microsoft to leverage Azure SQL Edge. Can you tell us how that technology helped Rayven overcome some of these challenges with streaming data on the edge?
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, we just recorded something for Rohan Kumar's past summit keynote speech. And it's about the use of the Rayven platform and Azure SQL Edge for monitoring and tracking ventilators in hospitals in Israel. And when you think about the applications like healthcare and even manufacturing and utilities, they're not tolerant of data loss. We've got a lot of devices which are producing more and more data, and data loss can actually be catastrophic. So while the cloud is great because it provides you with elastic storage and computing, what we have learned from working in hospitals, working in manufacturing, working with utility providers, is that distributed solutions really need edge technology to be robust. So using Azure SQL Edge is a critical part of that, doing processing at the edge, buffering data at the edge, and making sure that there's no loss or outage in that whole IoT network.
So Bernard, I think you raised something really interesting where you're talking about your work in healthcare in Israel. And given the current situation, every second counts, right? And so processing at the edge becomes even more so important. Can you tell us, with IoT devices now, edge devices having the potential to save lives, how are you using this in practical ways with that power on the edge to navigate and overcome the current pandemic?
You're absolutely right. The ventilator case in Israel shows the tremendous potential for IoT in healthcare. We have more and more devices that patients are connected to, both in the hospital and even in home situations like with home dialysis. So bringing vital information from those devices together to multidisciplinary clinical teams, wherever they are, can really help to improve the entire patient journey. The other thing is that those devices move with patients, and so being able to locate a device when you need it and have it where you need it is vitally important. And that's a key part of what's happening at this hospital in Israel. So the timing of the information, having that always accessible, is critical. And there's no scope for outages, which is why the Azure SQL Edge element of what we're doing is so important.
That's really great, right? And thank you for continuing to push on that work. Now, we know that Rayven doesn't just work on the healthcare industry. Are there some scenarios in other industries that you're working on that you're just super excited about?
I'm really excited about the prospects for predictive maintenance and predictive analytics in manufacturing. So, one of the key issues manufacturers face is downtime unexpected downtime or even planned downtime for maintenance. The ability to sense machine vibration, power consumption, temperature, and use that in real time to assess anomalies and predict failure in equipment is so important. But as you can imagine, the amount of data that's coming from these devices is also tremendous. So, there again, that's where there's a need to be able to do a lot of that processing on the edge. And that's something we're actively pursuing right now, is this whole area of predictive analytics, predictive maintenance in manufacturing.
That's fantastic. I would love to hear more about this as different customer cases and whatnot comes out. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your partnership with Microsoft, more specifically our Azure SQL Edge team. Right? You helped us, really look into how does this product get applied during the early phases of design before we launch. Can you tell us how that went? Right? How are you able to influence the design and implementation of Azure SQL Edge as an early adopter?
Yeah, I mean, an IoT solution, it's got many parts. It's there's a whole stack from sensors to software, the whole Azure platform, the Azure SQL Edge. So we partner with organizations because we form a piece of that stack. So we partner with leading organizations like Microsoft to create and deploy brilliant IoT solutions that are capable of solving business problems, or that can fulfill the specific operational needs of customers. And the partnership model with Microsoft, it works really well because we're combining the broad strength of Microsoft technology and infrastructure with the deep knowledge of Rayven, together to create something.
As you look at the next 5 to 10 years, right? And we already had the stat, right? Enterprise data, 75% in the next 5 years. It's moving over. What gets you the most excited? Like, how do you see the future moving forward and kind of developments in that space?
Well, the future is what excites us and what motivates us to do what we do. And there's a real explosion of sensors, cheaper and cheaper sensors and data everywhere. And I see a future of always-on technologies that integrate across different systems, across time, and to allow machines to act locally, that allow machines to coordinate their activity, and provide people with the insights that they need to make good decisions wherever they are, without having to go and hunt for the data, because the machine is giving us, it's almost like the analyst at our side, So some of the things that I see coming in the future, I mentioned factories that think. What do I mean by that? I mean factories that are self-healing, that are self-optimizing ecosystems, which enable us to be more productive, with less energy, with less resource consumption. Machines that can decide when they need to be serviced and can agree between themselves about production load sharing to maintain their uptime and their efficiency. I also see a lot more distributed activities. Being an engineer from manufacturing, I'll talk about urban manufacturing. We talked earlier about things like hospital in the home, which is more distributed healthcare. Urban manufacturing is the age of scale economies and big factories has passed, and with additive manufacturing, that's going to enable us to manufacture more things locally, delivering specific personalized orders just in time, and with less waste of energy from transport or unsaleable goods. But it also means much more data and analytics at the edge, and the roll-up of that information from devices from every corner of the globe.
Really appreciate you coming together with us and having this discussion. I look forward to seeing what's next from Rayven, and also how you lead that organization into the future with technology.
Thanks very much, Renee.